The observation deck of the Meridian Station offered a view that never failed to humble Kivin. The swirling rust-colored storms of Jupiter filled half the viewport, while Europa's ice-sheeted surface glinted below like a cracked pearl. He'd come here to escape the chaos of the docking bay, where 3 colony ships had arrived simultaneously, flooding the station with nearly 10,000 new souls. Kivin slumped into one of the ergonomic seats, letting his head fall back against the headrest. The biomonitors embedded in his maintenance suit chirped softly, reading his elevated cortisol levels. 16-hour shifts were taking their toll. He closed his eyes just for a moment. "Rough day." The voice was gentle, almost musical. Kivin's eyes snapped open. The woman beside him wore a simple gray travel suit, the kind every colonist received upon departure from Earth. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and her brown eyes held a knowing warmth. She looked to be in her 50s, with laugh lines around her eyes and an air of calm that seemed out of place in the frantic energy of the station. "You could say that," Kivin replied, managing a tired smile. "Systems integration specialist. When everyone arrives at once, everything breaks at once." She nodded thoughtfully. "The law of cascading failures. I imagine the atmospheric processors are giving you trouble." Kivin sat up straighter, surprised. "Actually, yes, how did you?" "I spent 20 years designing life support systems for the Mars colonies before they transferred me here." She extended her hand. "Lisa." "Kivin?" He shook her hand, nodding the calloused palm of someone who'd worked with tools, not just datapads. "Wait, Lisa Mercado. You wrote the standard protocols for closed-loop oxygen cycling. Your work is brilliant." A soft laugh escaped her. "That was a long time ago. Now I mostly just try to keep people alive." They fell into easy conversation, trading stories about the peculiarities of space station life. Lisa had a gift for listening, asking questions that made Kivin examine his own assumptions about the systems he maintained daily. She shared insights about biological redundancies that could be applied to mechanical systems, drawing parallels between human physiology and station infrastructure that Kivin had never considered. "The problem with most engineers," Lisa said, her eyes drifting toward Jupiter's great red spot, "is that they design for efficiency, not resilience. Nature is terribly inefficient, but it survives. We have 2 kidneys, 2 lungs, redundant pathways for everything. Your station needs the same philosophy." "The designers would say redundancy is too expensive," Kivin countered. "And I would say that human lives are expensive too." There was steel beneath her gentle tone. Every shortcut in a life support system is a gamble with someone's child, someone's parent, someone's future. Before Kivin could respond, a soft chime echoed through the observation deck. A holographic announcement flickered to life in the center of the room. "All station personnel and visitors, Her Majesty Queen Eleanor III will be conducting a tour of Meridian Station in 10 minutes. Please clear primary corridors." Kivin felt the blood drain from his face. Queen Eleanor III, the sovereign ruler of the European Space Consortium, which governed Meridian Station and 17 other installations throughout the solar system. She was visiting to inaugurate the new colony expansion. He turned slowly to look at Lisa, really seeing her for the first time. The gray travel suit wasn't standard issue. It was expertly tailored, with subtle threading he now recognized as security fibers. The simple watch on her wrist was actually a command interface, and those brown eyes he'd found so warm were now studying him with quiet amusement. Kivin started to stand, his mind reeling. Lisa's hand shot out, gripping his with surprising strength. Her voice remained gentle but carried an unmistakable authority. "Don't get up, stay here." Kivin froze, half risen from his seat. His heart hammered against his ribs. "Please," Lisa added, the command softening into a request. "Sit with me a while longer." Slowly, Kivin lowered himself back into the seat. His mouth had gone dry. "Your Majesty, I didn't mean any disrespect." Kivin. She squeezed his hand before releasing it. Do you know why I came to this observation deck alone, without my security detail hovering? He shook his head, unable to find words. Because I wanted 15 minutes where someone would talk to me about oxygen processors and cascading failures instead of treaty negotiations and resource allocation percentages. She turned back to the viewport, her expression wistful. 15 minutes where I could remember what it was like to be Dr. Lisa Mercado, engineer, instead of Her Majesty Queen Eleanor III, figurehead. You're not a figurehead, Kivin said before he could stop himself. Your reforms to the Colonial Rights Charter saved thousands of lives. The labor protections for deep space workers, the mandatory mental health protocols, those were your initiatives. Lisa smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. You've been reading. Everyone has. He struggled for the right words. You're the first monarch who actually seems to understand what it's like out here, in the colonies. That's because I spent 30 years in the colonies before a distant cousin's shuttle accident put me 14th in line for a throne I never wanted, she sighed. I traded a pressure suit for a crown, and some days I'm not sure I made the right choice. Through the viewport, a security shuttle appeared, making a slow patrol around the observation deck. Lisa glanced at it and frowned slightly. They've found me. I have about 2 minutes before Commander Yates bursts through that door having a coronary. I should go, Kivin began. No, Lisa turned to face him fully. Listen to me, Kivin. In about an hour, I'm going to sit through a ceremony where they'll unveil a plaque with my name on it, celebrating the expansion that will bring 50,000 more people to this station. Do you know what they won't mention? Kivin shook his head. They won't mention that the expansion is underfunded by 30%, that the contractors cut corners on the tertiary life support systems, that we're cycling air through processors designed for half our current population, and when those 50,000 people arrive, we'll be operating at 200% capacity. Kivin's blood ran cold. That's a disaster waiting to happen. Yes, Lisa's eyes hardened. Which is why I need people like you, people who understand the systems, who care about the details, who won't just nod and smile when administrators present their pretty projections. She pulled out her command interface, tapping rapidly. I'm sending you security clearance for the expansion project files. The real files, not the sanitized versions they show at press conferences. A notification appeared on Kivin's personal datapad. His hands trembled slightly as he confirmed the download. Your Majesty, why are you trusting me with this? Because you sat down next to a tired-looking woman and talked to her about oxygen processors for 10 minutes without once asking what you could get out of it. Lisa stood, and this time Kivin stood with her, following protocol. Because you care about the right things, and because sometimes the only way to fix a broken system is to empower the people who actually understand how it works. The observation deck door hissed open and Commander Yates rushed in, his face flushed with exertion and worry. Your Majesty, we've been searching. I'm fine, Commander, just enjoying the view. Lisa's demeanor shifted subtly, the engineer falling away as the Queen emerged. Her posture straightened, her voice acquired a formal cadence. Have the delegates assembled for the ceremony? Yes, Your Majesty. They're waiting in the main concourse. Excellent. She moved toward the door, then paused and looked back at Kivin. Mr. Reeves, I believe we'll be establishing an emergency task force to assess station infrastructure before the expansion proceeds. I'll be recommending you for the position. I trust you'll accept. Kivin's mind raced. Such a position would mean working directly with the Queen's technical advisors, having access to every system on the station, and the authority to demand changes. It would also mean endless meetings, political maneuvering, and putting his career on the line to stand up to contractors and administrators who wouldn't appreciate his interference. He thought about the thousands of people sleeping in HAB modules right now, trusting that the air they breathed, and the walls that protected them from the void would hold. He thought about the 50,000 more coming, families who'd sold everything for a chance at a new life among the stars. "I accept, Your Majesty." Lisa nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Good. Someone from my office will contact you tomorrow with the details." She started to leave again, then added, almost as an afterthought, "And Kivin, thank you for the conversation. It's rare that I get to just be Lisa anymore." Then she was gone, swept away by Commander Yates and a security detail that materialized from somewhere down the corridor. Kivin stood alone in the observation deck, Jupiter's storms churning in eternal silence beyond the glass. His datapad chimed. The files Lisa had sent him were massive: engineering reports, financial audits, safety assessments. It would take him days to review everything, weeks to formulate recommendations, months to implement changes. But as he stared out at Europa's fractured ice, at the tiny lights of mining stations dotting its surface, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years: purpose. Not just maintaining what existed, but actually building something better. He pulled up the first file and began to read. Outside, Jupiter turned in its eternal dance, indifferent to the small dramas of the humans who'd ventured into its domain. But inside Meridian Station, in that moment when a queen and an engineer had sat side by side discussing oxygen processors, something had shifted. A small change, perhaps, but in space, Kivin knew even small changes could cascade into something magnificent. Or catastrophic. It all depended on the engineering.